Summertime. It's almost upon us. Millions will be heading out to foreign lands for vacation, adventure, tourism, or just a beautiful beach. But how about hip surgery or multiple bypass? A growing number of tourists are doing just that, combining holidays with health care. And that's because a growing number of countries are offering first-rate medical care at third-world prices. Many of these medical tourists can't afford health care at home. The 40 million uninsured Americans, for example. Others are going for procedures not covered by their insurance. Infertility treatment, a facelift. And the hospitals in these faraway countries are glad to have these medical tourists. In fact, they're courting their business, trying to get more people to outsource their own health care. India wants to become the world leader in medical tourism and might just make it. The hospital boom in India was fueled by India's growing middle class who demanded access to quality health care. Now the country known for exporting doctors is trying hard to import patients. The most important player is the Apollo Group, the largest hospital group in India, third largest in the world. But why should foreigners come here? Well, it's even cheaper than Thailand for most procedures, with prices about 10% what they would be in the U.S. Indian doctors are known worldwide. They speak English, and they're often the very same doctors you may have had in Europe or America, where many of them practiced before returning to India. Dr. Praveen Kelmani, a pediatric intensive care specialist, worked at several American hospitals, including Mass General. Dr. Vikas Kohli is a pediatric cardiologist who worked at hospitals in New York and Miami. Both need sophisticated equipment to care for their patients, something India didn't have before the birth of private hospitals like Apollo. They both wanted to come back to India, despite the fact that medical care costs much less here, partly because doctors make much less.
How much less do you make here than you made in the States?
Maybe a tenth or a 20th of what we were making in the U.S.
They wanted to come back, they say, because they felt their expertise was needed here in India much more than in America.
There are probably 1,500 to 2,000 pediatric cardiologists in the U.S. I would be one of them. In India, there were just 4 of us. I was very passionate about working for Indian kids.
And since there are so many Indians who require the kind of care only you can offer, why is there such a strong drive to attract foreign patients?
Who doesn't mind extra money flowing in?
Stephanie Settlemyer didn't want to spend the tens of thousands it would have cost her for the hip surgery she needed, and she didn't have insurance. So with her daughter by her side, she flew from Vero Beach, Florida, to the Apollo Hospital. She'd never been to India before, but she already knew quite a bit about Indian doctors.
My doctor actually in Vero Beach, she's an Indian doctor. So why not go where they come from?
When you took this decision to come to India for surgery, did any of your friends back in Florida say, "Are you crazy?"
All of them. Hardly anybody said, "Oh, great idea."
But she didn't come here just to save money. She came for an operation she couldn't get at home. It's called hip resurfacing, and it's changed people's lives. It hasn't been approved yet by the FDA, but in India, Dr. Vijay Bose has performed over 300 of them. He said his patients usually recover faster because his procedure is far less radical and doesn't involve cutting the thigh bone. Until the FDA approves it, the only way to have this operation in the U.S. is by getting into a clinical trial. But be warned, it isn't cheap.
I believe it costs something from $28,000 to $32,000 US dollars.
Between $28,000 and $32,000.
That's correct.
And here, what did it cost you?
$5,800.
Including food, service, nurses, the works.
Private nurse after surgery. And feeling always that they were just totally attentive. If you rang the bell next to your bed, boop, somebody was there immediately.
Stephanie Settlemyer feels she's already had more luck than she had any right to expect. By the time we left India, she was into the tourism part of her treatment, convalescing at a seaside resort an hour's drive from the hospital.
Is this standard that when somebody gets surgery at a hospital here, they'll come to a resort like this afterwards?
Yeah, they suggested.
This, too, is not very expensive, is it?
$140 a day.
For you and your daughter?
For myself and my daughter, including an enormous, fabulous breakfast that they serve until 10:30.
I think a lot of people seeing you sitting here in what's usually called post-op and hearing your tales of what the op was like, are going to start thinking about India.
Yeah, and combining surgery and paradise.